So, the world kinda sucks right now, and I think we could all use a break. So I'm gonna try to do a little less scary of a Halloween event this year. To that end, let's talk about a game that operates in the same tonal space as films like Happy Death Day, Freaky, or Totally Killer. Which is to say that it takes the 80s slasher and treats the genre and its tropes as a sort of background setting to do its own high-concept thing. Like, Happy Death Day is Groundhog Day with a slasher movie in the background, Freaky is Freaky Friday with a slasher happening in the background, Totally Killer is Back to the Future with a slasher happening in the background, and today's game, Killer Frequency, is kinda Doc Hollywood or Cars with a slasher happening in the background, and maybe a bit of Psycho 4.
This is Fran Ambrose on KTK, Talk of the Town.
I called because the focus of your show tonight is what makes boys kill their mothers.
Are you saying you killed your mother?
I killed some other women, too.
Anyways, it's 1987 and you play as DJ and radio personality Forrest Nash, recently fired from working the big regional metropolitan radio station and demoted down to the nowheresville of Gallows Creek. You've gone from hosting a show that could reach millions every night to a show that reaches not that.
What kind of listening figures do we get at this time?
On a Thursday after midnight, could be around 35?
35? Isn't 3,500? Huh. I didn't realize Gallows Creek was that large.
No, 35 people, at best.
Along with Peggy, your co-host and producer who's holed up in the booth across from you, you've been reduced to spinning records and taking calls in a podunk town after midnight to an audience of, effectively, no one. But the humdrum nature of small-town radio life is broken when Leslie, your local 911 operator, calls into the show from the local police office. She tells you that of the 3 total police officers in town, one is away on vacation, one has been knocked unconscious and is locked up in the jail cell, and the third, the sheriff, has been murdered.
Sheriff Matthews is dead.
What? Sheriff Matthews is dead?
I couldn't get any response from the department. That's never happened before, so I came to the station and I found him.
Worse, it seems the perpetrator is still there, hunting Leslie as they whistle an atonal tune, which shocks both her and Peggy.
Whistling? It can't be.
Oh my god. I can see him, but he's dead, right? Right? But that mask, how the hell is he?
Who, Leslie? Who?
The Whistling Man!
It turns out that the town of Gallows Creek had a serial killer in the 50s named the Whistling Man, who disappeared and was never found. He's become something of an urban legend, and tonight just happens to be the anniversary of the Whistling Man's murders. And the person hunting Leslie is wearing the killer's mask and whistling as they approach. With no police left and no 911 to call, it's up to you to guide Leslie through rescuing the unconscious deputy and escaping the murderer. Leslie promises to return with help from the next town over, but Gallows Creek is in the middle of nowhere and it might take a few hours. Until then, Leslie has configured the 911 number to reroute to you, the local late-night radio host. From that point on, it's up to you to do 2 jobs at once, the duties of a late-night disc jockey and the duties of a 911 responder who helps guide the terrorized citizens of Gallows Creek to safety on a night a slasher returns to activity. As the night goes on, people will call into the station. Some of these are exposition, establishing characters or puzzle clues that'll come back later, or giving some color to the town and its inhabitants.
And let me tell you, the pizza we have is to die for. No. Poor choice of words tonight, I guess.
Yeah, that didn't come out great.
But each chapter centers on a core victim who will call into the station believing that they're calling 911. Each of these is presented as, effectively, their own puzzle. You get a call that introduces their situation with a few false choices that establish what needs to happen, then they disappear for a second while you explore the radio station to find clues that can help them out of their jam. For example, how are you going to guide the nerd waiting for his date out of the local fall festival's corn maze? Could the receptionist at KFAM, who's obsessed with the maze, have a clue? And if so, can you use it to effectively guide them out?
I have a pig statue in front of me and a creepy rocking horse on my left.
A local reporter is trapped in his office as the killer searches from room to room. If he faxes you the layout of the building and the extensions for each room, can you use your phone lines to call and distract the killer while telling the reporter how to escape? The game's full of that sort of thing, remotely helping people over the phone in order to survive a terrible disaster using clues that are hidden around the radio station. And it works pretty well.
What's the serial number on the steering column?
The number is 576-894-320.
Bookending these life or death puzzles are your real job responsibilities. Spinning records,
Here comes one of my favorites.
running ridiculous local ad copy,
Are you ready to unlock your inner warrior for only $24.99? Then step into Master Robbie's deadly dojo of Kung Ra-Te.
taking calls from people not in immediate danger,
I got all the tapes in Master Robbie's Dojo series. So get ready, Whistling Man.
and learning more about Peggy and the town's history and why the Forrest Nash is now on a backwater radio station. Eventually you learn enough about the town and unlock enough of the station that you can begin researching who the killer actually may be. Can you keep everyone alive, solve the mystery of who's under the mask, and reclaim your career? If the game has a problem at all, it's that the puzzles vary in difficulty pretty wildly. Some of them are extremely straightforward or forgiving, and some of them require you to make several decisions correctly without error, sometimes under time pressure. Still, it keeps players on their toes, and really, what's a slasher movie without a few deaths? Keeping everyone alive is kind of a boring option, really. The other problem is that it's very tell, don't show, which works for the radio conceit and the limited indie budget for modeling and animating people and faces, but it does mean that it's a game about long, unskippable conversation trees where the action bits get simply hard to parse because we're hearing a slasher film play out and not seeing it.
Go forward!
Okay, I'm going! Please, no! You don't have to do this! Ah!
I think I'm gonna be sick.
As implied by the films I compared it to, the tone is more of a PG-13 film that references slashers than a slasher proper.
Son of a...
Forrest, he's
Out of print.
If you fail the puzzles, people do die, but it's mostly just to some squishing noises and a mildly somber, well that sucks kind of tone, rather than anything gruesome or terrifying or upsetting. Murder's not played for laughs or anything, it's just not lingered on in a way that gives it much weight, which is probably the right choice. Killer Frequency is a slightly comedic riff on horror tropes, not an actual horror game, nor a serious look at communities traumatized by violence. As far as scares go, there is the occasional mild fake-out jump scare of things falling over while exploring a kinda dark area. And some creepy imagery once you start unraveling the mystery of who's doing the murders. But on the whole, it's very light and accessible. It's a good Halloween-y game for people who are maybe too scared by my usual recommendations, but want to get in on the festivities. It's got a masked killer, wacky small-town characters, and a few bumps in the night. But it keeps things loose and fun. It's also only like 4 or 5 hours long, so if you're looking for a light but still spooky game to play on All Hallows Eve, there are far worse options. Have a happy Halloween.